Hello and welcome. You're about to listen to a conversation with Lubosh Cech and I about sacred space. Lubosh is a designer, photographer, illustrator, filmmaker, an artist. He makes these really beautiful sacred panels of kind of temple-like imagery that's kind of curated and crafted in this really wonderful way on wood blocks. And, he designed books, he does photography, video production, web design, advertising, packaging, logo design. Basically, like if you want to have a kind of conscious business, Lubosh can help you make that happen. And I know Lubosh because a friend of mine introduced him to me because I'm working on a film project. And I talked to Lubosh about it and he kind of helped guide me through it a little bit. But when I walked into Lubosh's home, that's also a healing sanctuary, I was just hit by the quality of sacred space that Lubosh created. And for me, it was this really sort of almost overwhelming experience because through COVID, I haven't really been going to temple or Zen centers. For me, a lot is where I experience sacred space, or even when I go to cathedrals or other kind of places of worship where you can feel that love of the divine infused within the space. And when I walked into Lubosh's home, I felt that so strongly. And it was so nourishing to me to just be in that space that it brought such a trust to Lubosh that I was like, if you made this wonderfully supportive space, like I trust you as a human. And Lubosh continues to delight me with his kind of years and years of spiritual practice, having spent, I forget how long, living at an ashram in Portland doing his Kashmir Shaivik thing, and his years with plant medicines and meditation and all the work he's done to really learn to love himself. And that's where we go in this conversation. What it means to love the sacred space of our own being and how to let that love radiate out into the work that we do, into the things we create, and just who we are as people. So I hope you enjoy this conversation with Lubosh. And yeah, I hope you're well. Thank you.
Awesome.
One click.
One click.
Yeah, I clicked one thing and it changed something. I didn't
Wow.
realize it.
Don't you love it?
Yeah, you were
So-
saying though about
Well, I got intrigued because when you asked me to do this and that the theme would be a sacred space, of course it made me think about it in a different way. Like like what would I say about it? How would I talk about it?
yeah.
And of course some ideas come in, but mostly I would like to know what you want to know, like why you picked it, right?
Yeah.
Or what inspired you. Of course, you've been here before, but
Well, that was part of it too, is when I came here last time. Because of COVID, right? I haven't been in temple and other places that have sacred space besides for a couple friends' homes that hold that energy. And when I came in here, I felt something relax in me. That in that way where it's just like, like that home feeling. And I just felt it in here. I was like, oh, it feels so good in here. And so that kind of was part of the prompt, and I wanted to just talk to you, but that was
right.
in there for me. It's just this sense of that this space we're in right now holds that for me, at least when I walk in the room. Yeah.
What do you think it is?
I don't know. I mean,
It's just a general feeling, or is it?
like partially it's like an energetics for me, not like I'm sensing the room, but like in my own body where something just felt really like I could breathe easier. I could relax, and in a way just feeling safe. Like oh, this space is safe. So
Nice.
yeah. And then when I look around, I can it's beautiful, right? There's beautiful art. It's clearly like clean and maintained and thoughtful. And I think part of it too is it just feels like intention is in all the choices and where everything is. And I imagine some intention for, I don't know what you would call that intention, maybe when you're building your spaces.
I think it's definitely an intention.
Yeah.
But not so specific. The intention wasn't like, oh, I want somebody when they enter the house to feel peace and safety. Right? It was not this utilitarian goal.
Like
right.
Do this so that
exactly,
people feel
so
safe.
Right. That would be too calculated, I think.
Yeah.
But I think that with any endeavor that we take on, whether it's creating a beautiful space, when it comes from the right place in us, like from, the heart and from with intentions for both expressing yourself creatively, but also providing some service, then what the end result shows that, right? So in a way, any creative process can become a ceremony, a conscious ceremony, right?
And because you're involved in a lot of different creative processes, right? I mean, both art, video, website.
It's kind of both blessing and a curse.
Yeah, I looked at your website before coming here and I was like, oh, here's everything Lubosh does.
Exactly. And, I'm sure that it's a trouble for somebody who wants only like a photographer, right?
Like I want a good photographer.
Exactly. Or, a branding, a logo designer, right? So I know that putting myself in trouble, but in a way it's kind of beyond my choice, right? I've been kind of given these gifts and curse of doing many things, but everything within the realm of visual arts, really. So it's not like that I'm a lawyer on a side, right?
Yeah, it's not like a lawyer and an artist.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not that different, so doing photography, filmmaking, design, it's not that different because there's an overlap always, right?
And this piece you named a moment ago, that there's a quality for you of ceremony in it, even if it's a website or building a space or the art that you make, that it sounds like there's some thread there where they feel connected in the way, even though they might be very different domains on the outside.
Right. Because it doesn't matter what the medium is. The way I approach every project is the same. And it is with kind of a meditative stillness to begin with, right? You basically, every project that I start is like starting a ceremony. But not kind of a woo-woo thing, like, okay, I'm gonna like, I don't want to offend anybody,
You don't want to offend woo-woo people?
Exactly.
I won't take too much offense right now.
But a lot of people think that I am woo-woo, so
yeah. Like there's a spectrum, right? To someone
course,
else,
like,
you're very woo-woo.
It depends whom you ask, right?
Yeah.
So this is why the world is so colorful and it's wonderful, right? I mean, you are so different.
Yeah. But ceremony
but basically, like this is not an ideology for me. This is an experience, because I've been doing my work for a long time, and of course it evolves. It always evolves. And there have been approaches that didn't feel good. Like one approach is, oh, I need to do this to pay the rent.
Yeah.
And then the energy you put in it is fear-based.
Like a lack and a scarcity model.
Right. So. And like, I have to please the client, and then you kind of leave yourself behind. In a way, it's kind of, I don't want to complicate things, but, it's like you don't give yourself self-love. Uh,
Yeah, stay with that.
because you are then giving your power away to your client in a way. And this is a very delicate but important topic, because we are, and I'm sure that with what you do, I mean, we are in the service industry, right?
Yes.
We are serving people, and service is sacred also, because you are actually utilizing your skills and your time, actually giving your time to somebody else or somebody else's project or business, right? In my case, I do promotional materials for people. So, and of course, there's an exchange. They pay me for it, right? But if you don't enjoy it, and if it's not a way of expressing your own creative vitality, then you are doing disservice both to yourself and to them, because you are not giving the best of yourself to them either. So my little example is that what I've done before, you know, and I'm not ashamed of it, you know, I'm a human. There were times that I struggled, and I would take on jobs that I didn't really enjoy doing, but I convinced myself I must do this because otherwise I cannot pay the bills. And a lot of us have done this, and there's no shame about it.
Yeah.
This is totally human.
You got to survive, right?
You got to survive. But, you know, as you keep doing this, then, of course, you get this download, you know, from the universe, like there must be a better way. Right? I either have to start doing something else, or I keep doing the same thing in a different way, right?
Oh, yeah. Like you either a significant pivot towards something else, or the thing you're doing needs a different attitude, energy, kind of way of being with it.
Right.
Yeah. Was there a point for you where that like clicked or shifted?
I think that it was gradual, and I knew it kind of in my head, right? Because I've studied spirituality, you know, so of course there are all these affirmations, you know, it's not what you do, but it's, you know, how you do it, or, you know, you do it with joy, and any job that you do, if you do it with joy, you know, then it's satisfying and it's a good service. But, you know, like, I think that all of us know this feeling that these affirmations and the, you know, the lines of the sages, you know, like that we see on the memes, you know. Of course, it's true, but sometimes it really makes you kind of angry, you know, like, okay, I know that this is the truth, but why am I not experiencing it or utilizing it, you know? And then a lot of us take it kind of against ourselves, like what's
we're
wrong,
doing something
what's wrong with me?
Yeah, right? Why am I not flourishing or abundant, even though I know the universe is abundant, but I can't seem to do it right.
But, you know, all of this is very good, because that's the growing process.
Yeah.
You are always having this inner dialogue with you, with yourself. And eventually things change, right? So anyway, I'm kind of like all over the place here, but
but it's okay.
But you know, like my point was that when I realized that I can approach all work that I do as a ceremony, as a ritual, if you want, with and you know, what do I mean by ceremony?
That was gonna be a question I was holding.
Right. Like if you think of any ceremony, which can be like a wedding is a ceremony. It doesn't have to be some kind
graduation.
of a graduation, right? Like, so there's always a very clear purpose and intention, and there's a ritual. There's a certain structure. There's a beginning. There's the middle, and there's the end, right?
Yeah, I even remember like weddings I've been to, or even graduations, right? The day before you do a practice where they tell you, like you turn the tassel here, or you walk slower than you think down the aisle. There's like an introduction into the ritual, which I don't think we think about that often when we're doing the ceremonies that are very normal to us, like weddings or whatever it is.
And so these are the kind of like mainstream accepted ceremonies or rituals, right? And then there are more kind of the indigenous style of rituals like fire ceremonies.
Yeah, which is something you're close to, right? The fire
exactly,
ceremony.
because I have participated and also I have conducted fire ceremonies for many years. Yeah. And it's slightly different than those we just mentioned, because what's the same is that there's a structure, there's some intention, there's a beginning, middle, and end, and you have some general idea of the container and how you want to proceed. But I think that what's different, unlike with a wedding or graduation, is that what you build in is the unexpected.
Yeah, like the container is almost built for something spontaneous.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty and that's the magic, right?
Yeah,
that's the magic that you actually, the structure is not supporting or creating any kind of rigidity. Conversely, the structure, as you said, is the container for the magic, if you will, or for the unexpected to enter. And this is where the creativity happens.
Yeah.
Right? So back to, I don't even know how we started talking about it. Back to like doing any kind of work.
Mm-hmm. Anytime work that you bring ceremony into.
Any kind of work. And, you know, like in my case, I was talking about, you know, like I do design, I do photography, filmmaking. But, you know, it can be any kind of work. Like, wouldn't it be wonderful if we can every day go to work or whatever task we have in front of us and approach it as a ceremony and kind of, you know, briefly close your eyes, kind of drop into a meditative state just for a few minutes, right? And what I mean by a meditative state is actually to touch some kind of stillness within us, because the world and our lives are so noisy and so busy that we often totally neglect what to me is the most important element, and it is periodically come to feeling a still point within ourselves, right?
Yeah, and you touch your heart when you say that.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the center, right? I mean, that's the actually I'm actually touching my
a little lower, right?
A little lower, which is interesting, right? Right, a little bit above the solar plexus and a little bit below my heart,
which is another interesting place where those two meet, right?
And that's the important center, right?
Yeah.
And we can talk about it later because it's fascinating. So, you know, starting any endeavor, any project, small or large, with first becoming quiet, dropping in. First, feel you, even when the feeling you is feeling all the agitation, movement, worries.
Yeah, this is so important what you're saying here. Like, stillness is not peace or quiet necessarily, but there's a meeting what's happening with stillness, whether it's agitation or uproar inside, but there can be a quality of stillness when we meet that. That there can be a steadiness, and maybe hopefully it quiets when we do that, but it doesn't always.
Right, but the stillness is always there.
Yeah.
It's always there.
Yeah, even if there's an uproar or anger.
That's above it and around it or below it, right? I mean, but stillness is always there.
Yeah.
Always available.
And this is something I think I was confused around for a long time, and I think people are in mindfulness or whatever, that they're trying to get to stillness, or they're trying to get to the moment, and like this moment, if it's angry or agitated or whatever it is not stillness, or it's not the moment, right? And I got to do something to get there. And I think what you're saying is something else, that it's
and you totally put your finger on it. Trying to get somewhere is misleading. It's kind of the Western, mind.
Yeah, it's of course we
it's
do
this
this,
doing,
right?
doing.
Yeah.
But like in my experience, it's much more simple, not necessarily easy. It's always there, and it's more about allowing, right? So it's me getting out of the way and feel the stillness.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with the movement and agitation that's around it, or there's absolutely nothing wrong. We live in the world. We are active, and the activity is wonderful. But this is the yin yang, Shiva Shakti, male female
However
duality
you want to break that
that's in
dichotomy
harmony,
down.
right? Like movement and stillness. At the core, actually, the stillness is dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the core of the ultimate potentiality. This is the heart of all creativity. Everything comes out of it. Our lives come out of it. The whole universe came out of it. Right?
Yeah. And I don't know if you're saying this, but like that there's whatever the polarity were, Shakti, Shiva, masculine, feminine, but then somewhere else from which they emerge. Like there's some ground from which that polarity comes to life, and like maybe touching something of that place where all of this beauty comes from, that we get to be a part of, even though it's hard to see sometimes, right? That it's beautiful, but it's pretty fucking amazing to
it's amazing and
to be here right now in a body, talking and sound and meaning.
Exactly.
And there's plants I'm seeing on the corner of my eye with light going through them, and
absolutely amazing. And the hardest thing, that even the things that we reject and we don't like come from the same place.
Yeah, they emerge from that place of everything else we love,
because it's the multiplicity, right? That's playing out in this world. So back to the
go back wherever you want to go.
That stream is that. So whatever you do, start with getting in touch with that dynamic stillness inside you by becoming quiet, and then you very simply bring an intention. And the intention is not necessarily the goal, even though it can be part of it, but also the intention is about the process.
Sometimes I think the quality too.
And the quality, right?
Yeah, the quality of playfulness, or
exactly. The experience of it.
I for a long time ago, I worked at food carts making burritos, which is kind of how we know each other, because I worked with Andres doing burritos.
Okay.
But and it was, someone would be standing about where you are as I would make the burrito, so I would just be watched as I made this burrito for them. And for me, it became this sort of the way I could find my ceremony or my intentionality. And it was that it was a dance, and that the movement was the expression of that ceremony. And like the movement was moving beans and moving rice, but to have like a sense of I can't find a word for it, but beauty,
it's a sense of presence,
but there's more than, it wasn't just being, because you can be present and jerky, and
I see.
But it was a flow, like a dynamism, a flow,
flowing, fluidity.
that like there was a seamlessness between each movement, that they all bled into each other.
Beautiful.
And for me, that helped me to hold a space there where I wasn't just like, fuck, when am I going to be done with work?
That's so beautiful. That's such a beautiful example, because from the outside, it might look so mundane.
Yeah, I think only once ever someone commented on it, right?
So somebody noticed.
Someone was like, whoa, you do that really beautifully. I don't remember what they said, but they commented on it. And I was like, oh, I felt like I was seen. Like, wait, you're not supposed to know I'm doing this. This is my own secret.
Is my private thing.
This is my private little thing I do here. I'm just making a burrito, man. So,
was there a part of you though who appreciate?
Yeah, of course, a little like, oh, thanks for the pat on the back. Yeah, I got recognized. You saw me. Oh, thank you. Yeah.
So where were we?
You were naming stillness. a little bit of intention.
Intention, yeah.
But you were just starting with
Mm-hmm.
intention. You hadn't maybe yet said what that meant to you. Like when you kind of tap that stillness, and then for you, I'm wondering like how you relate to intention for the many different domains you express work in.
Right, and intention might be just this is what I want.
Yeah.
Intention might be my desire for something, right?
I mean, it's on a basic level to do the project or to.
Yeah, I mean, I want to, create something like this. I want to be done at certain time, and then, I want to collect my paycheck, for it, and then move on. Right?
Maybe I don't want to be miserable while doing it, or feel some form of pleasure.
So that's kind of like on the kind of base level, and then on a little bit higher level, the intention might be, and this might sound a little bit lofty, but it's not really. Like, my intention is that this benefits me and my client, and by extension, all beings.
All beings.
Right.
Yeah.
And actually, it's not that far out, really, because isn't anything that we do like with the as a service, of course, it should benefit everybody.
Yeah, but there's sometimes a sense that can be like arrogant or building ourselves up on helping all beings.
Yeah, like, I want to change the world, I want to make a difference.
Or I can change the world.
Right. And it's okay too, it's okay. But I think that, on the invisible level, we don't realize, a lot of people don't realize this, but our vibrational frequency, our own energy, affects, of course, our environment, people we are in touch with, but of course we insert that energy into everything that we are doing. And then it actually affects people who either use the product, like when your example with food.
Yeah.
If you are in a funk, and if you are disconnected from what you are doing, and if you are angry, and if you are, not feeling good, you are most likely inserting that energy into the food. And this might be very subtle, but then, the person who eats the food, they might not like feel it as a very strong thing, but in a subtle way, it'll influence them.
Yeah, two things come to mind when you say that. One is, like, I feel in ways I can tell when food is loved, and it's rare to get food that's loved. I mean, it's more common in a home, right, when someone cooks for you, but like out in the world. But sometimes at a restaurant, I'm like, oh, whoa, they actually love this. Like, this food was cared for. It's like, and that to me is a little sad, right? That we don't tell the anger that much, but we can tell when it's loved. Like the other day I was at Chipotle on a road trip, so it's hard to get, you eat where you can. Chipotle seemed like the best option. And he was a teenager working there. I don't totally blame him, but he was just so unhappy working there. Just like throwing the food down, and I was like, I don't think I can eat this. Like, I ate it, but it was just like, wow, I have not seen so much negative vibe. Like, not that he was mad at me, you just tell he hated working there. He hated that he was still there. Like,
right. And and in this situation, you still can bless the food, and you can actually negate that.
Yeah, because my judgment of it might add more negativity.
Exactly.
Like, oh man, why am I even eating this?
Exactly. So we are not totally helpless in the world, and blessing the food and actually thanking even, the beans and
thanking him,
the
even,
farmers who grew it.
Even the grumpy teenager. Thank you for making this.
Right, exactly. And kind of send blessings to him, and maybe you don't even have to talk to him, but sending him that kind of energy will actually make him feel better. Maybe not, but.
Yeah. But you were saying intention for all beings. And that, like, on one level, what I was hearing at least was that we do impact all beings. This is just like a fact of existence.
Right.
And to actually acknowledge that and hope that our impact is of benefit.
Without attachment, though.
Yeah.
Right. And this is the trick, because, and this is why actually I think we call it intention instead of a goal. That's the difference between a goal and an intention. A goal is something that we become attached to.
Yeah, we get fixated.
And intention is actually a process.
Okay.
Right?
A process.
I like to see it as a verb instead of a noun.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Even though it's both technically.
Mm-hmm.
And intention coupled with attention, and intention, very powerful, right?
Yeah.
Very powerful. But the trick is that after you state your intention, then drop it. Then don't have expectations.
Yeah, don't grasp on that intention.
Don't grasp again for any kind of goal, and then you open it. Then you create a perfect, fertile field for creativity to unfold from the dynamic stillness.
Yeah.
That you first welcomed, right, or got in touch with.
First place.
And then this is the fertile ground for spontaneous creativity to manifest. So this then makes creative work a lot of fun, because you open yourself to surprises.
Yeah.
And of course, it's not easy, because I get frustrated, I get impatient.
Yeah, creativity doesn't always care about our timelines and
I get
our
like
deadlines.
restless, right? Like then I work with a computer, of course, a lot, and then like I get up and start walking around, and then I get ADD and I get distracted, right? And then okay, back to my intention.
Yeah, you're not you haven't perfected
and
this.
There's
where
probably
you're
like this like unconscious, sabotaging, because I think that the creative field is so powerful.
Yeah.
It's so powerful, and I think that and infinite, right? And at least maybe it's different for other people, in my case, kind of like my human part like needs to like catch up with it, or align myself with it. But sometimes it's kind of, the potential is overwhelming, right? Maybe like too many choices, like then bring it back to the focus, and get focused, and maybe commitment is another one. After certain scenarios present themselves, commit to one, explore it. If it doesn't go anywhere, then go to the second one, explore it. And this is in any creative endeavor, writing, visual arts.
Yeah, that it's not like you set your intention and then it just unfolds effortlessly, and the creativity is
let it unfold, but
sometimes there's a dead end, or
many things come in.
Yeah.
And then it might be overwhelming. So then you need to be kind of a warrior, kind of disciplined soldier, kind of
an upright quality.
Choose one, commit, even if it's just for an hour. But commit to it and explore it and see if it goes anywhere.
Yeah.
And once you explored it, put it aside, in the storage, or put it aside, or leave it and go somewhere else.
Yeah, and I imagine non-attachment is important here. Because sometimes, right, that
and
hour is not maybe going to be the product that you show at the end.
Right. But, or actually some of it you might really like, part of it you might like, so you get attached to that.
oh, you might really like it,
You
but it
might
might.
really like, well, you might like part of it and not the other, but you are stuck, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, maybe too much information about the creative process.
Well, I would love.
But
I'm
I think that,
appreciating this. I need help. I like this.
but
Thank
I
you.
think that of course, like back to our initial conversation, we actually started talking about this as a sacred space, which is really interesting. This dialogue is actually a perfect demonstration of what we are talking about.
Yeah.
That we had an intention of talking about a sacred space, creating sacred space, and somehow we ended up talking about uh, work as a ceremony and as a creative process.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, that's the same thing, because you could conceive any kind of activity spatially. This is a space
Yes.
that I'm functioning in.
And we're sharing it right now.
Or you're cooking food
Mhm.
is a space.
Yeah. Like we're all of our works are space in a way.
All of our work is a space that we function in, and things are happening in that space. There's energy in that space.
Yeah.
And there's movement, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe this is not relevant.
No, like for me this is relevant in the sense that what an anecdote that might be to the world. In some ways, and I don't want to say that, because some jobs suck, and maybe people shouldn't have to work these jobs or get paid better, right? Like the system is not great. But like if this attitude was held a bit, the work we do, and maybe not all financial, just the work of being and activity, that a recognition of the possibility of the stillness and our intentions and our impact on others, like the world might feel and look a little different. Because I was thinking when we were coming up here that, like, I was like, oh, I haven't been in much sacred space recently, and I've been in your space, and that was a sort of warming, kind of heart-centering moment for me just to step in here, like, oh, and a little jealous too. Like, I want my home to feel like this. Like, I need to. Why am I not working enough, or how come Lubosh got the dial on it?
Right. Thank you. That's really nice of you to say. But you just actually brought me to something very important.
Yeah.
You are the sacred space.
Yeah, we are.
I am everybody is a sacred space, right? So we might have been talking about jobs and work, but it always comes back that actually we are responsible for creating us as a sacred space. It's not even a space inside us.
Yeah.
We are actually, originally we are sacred space because we are God, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever you want to
whatever
call it.
word you want to input there.
We are vital energy. We are a life force.
Well, we come from the stars, whatever
Right.
it is.
So it doesn't matter like what beliefs people have, but I think that in any system, any divinity, any sacred system, everybody would agree that we humans are sacred, divine, right?
Yeah.
And of course, we have bodies.
Mm-hmm.
In many traditions, they call the body the temple, right?
Yeah.
Where the soul resides,
Yeah.
right? So actually, your body is your temple, and it is a sacred
In
space.
very different traditions, right? These aren't like Christianity or an indigenous community, like places that may not agree cosmologically at all.
Exactly.
Often see this human experience as very important. Like it's very special to be in this body right now.
Right. And of course, there are traditions that are transcending that, or they consider the body.
Yeah, they want to leave the body.
And they want to leave the body. But it doesn't make any sense because the very fact that we incarnated.
Yeah, it's like we're
body,
probably here for a good
it's not
reason.
A mistake.
Yeah.
Right? That would kind of somehow imply that it was a mistake.
Yeah, yeah.
And maybe maybe it was.
I don't.
I
Well, there's
don't know.
some traditions.
Sometimes I think that, but just for a brief moment
Yeah. Well,
when
mean,
I struggle, right?
yeah.
But
Why did I pick this?
exactly. But really, then when I become resourced, of course, I know that this is not a mistake,
Yeah.
and the body is the temple.
Uh-huh.
And so this is very important, that it's never about the external, right? The external is a reminder and an extension of the internal always,
Mm-hmm.
and a support, right? So why are we surrounding ourselves by beautiful images? And it doesn't matter what images they are. They don't have to be godly images,
No, yeah.
right? And nature, right?
Yeah,
I
just
think
walking here, right? Like, we're in Portland and so many people put so much energy into their gardens. And
right.
like, it's just, they're so beautiful.
And that's a sacred space.
Yeah.
If but only if it's consciously recognized as such. You see, it's always an interplay of our consciousness with the external. Uh, uh, a sacred space, the definition of a sacred, what makes it sacred instead of just a space?
Yeah, like, yeah. But,
Like,
I'm wanting to hear your answer.
I was
Are
just
you
curious,
asking me?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh God, I
What do
don't
you
know.
think? What do you think? I don't want to put you on the spot,
No,
but
you put me on, I'm going to need a
but
moment on the spot. But
but this is really interesting. Like, why not just a space or a beautiful space? Why we call certain spaces sacred and the other one?
yeah, I think there's like a lot of different answers even I could give
Mhm.
there, but like it's one answer, but it has two elements. I think of spaces where ceremony, ritual, and practice
Mhm.
happens, whether that's meditating in a temple.
Okay.
That like there's some either reaching out to the divine in some
Mhm.
spaces, like I'm reaching out, or pulling it in,
Or
like
allowing it.
oh yeah, bringing it in.
Bringing it.
But there's some conscious endeavor that this
Mhm.
space, um, like is about that connection. That it's a
Mhm.
part of it, and it may not be the whole thing, right? Like for some spaces, right? Like that's all that happens there.
Right.
But then other spaces, it just is acknowledged that like
Mhm.
there is a divine element to anything we do, whether that's cooking, right? Or
Okay.
yeah, I don't know. What do you think of my
So
definition? Work with my
okay.
definition.
So if I may, now I'm gonna ask you
Yeah,
a follow-up question.
please.
So
I like the tables have turned. This is
you
great.
so you go to the forest, and
Uh-huh.
there are these three magnificent trees, and there's some moss, and there's some rocks, and you
Yeah.
sit down.
Yeah.
Is it a sacred space, or is it a forest with trees?
Oh, for me, it's the most sacred space, but not in the sense that it's more sacred. It's just the one where my heart is most open, like when I'm with the trees.
Okay. So, and there will be another person who comes to the same place with the trees,
Yeah.
and they might feel differently, right? They might not feel it.
So you're touching here a bit on the relationship we have.
So basically, where I'm leading you
yeah,
here,
lead me there, please.
It's only our consciousness, our awareness and intention that turns almost any place into either sacred or not sacred.
Yeah.
Right. It's not actually. You might transform any space with some external reminders of what divinity means for you.
Yeah.
Say, you could come to a construction site.
Yeah.
And it's just a construction site. Let's say that all the workers went home. It's a construction site
empty.
with a bunch of tools there, wood, concrete, and you wouldn't call this a sacred. It's a construction site, right? Concrete, like really harsh, it doesn't have anything like beautiful.
It's
right?
not even finished, whatever it is.
Imagine that you bring one candle and maybe one flower and a piece of cloth, and you sit down. Suddenly you transform that place into a temple, into a sacred space.
Yeah.
So it's not the space, it's our intention, our attention, and maybe one or two props.
Yeah.
But the external props are a reminder.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I find this really fascinating.
Yeah, please. What fascinates you?
That anybody
has this power in a way?
Exactly. And that we can what we are transforming more than the space, we are transforming our own conditioned beliefs and our own awareness that everything is sacred, really.
Yeah, I'm hearing this as you talk right now as almost portals, but not portals into a different space, but portals into seeing this space that's already here as sacred. Like these subtle reminders, like, oh, like this is sacred, but maybe a prop helps with that, or something that,
because the prop is a reminder, and
it
also
kind of triggers that, like,
an
oh,
anchor.
yeah.
Like it's a really good anchor. Like, because look at like all these different traditions. Like when people come and they put a blanket down, it's like an anchor. It's not just utilitarian. We're gonna sit here and have a picnic, but we are kind of like marking a spot. Here I am now.
Yeah.
This is where my being is now, expressing itself. And we're gonna either, do a ceremony or ritual here, but we kind of, so the objects are very important, not by themselves,
but the sort of,
but they are like anchors and reminders of our relationship with the space. Right?
Yeah. But and we all have this power, and we maybe don't even need these objects always. I think as a piece of what you're talking.
Ultimately, we don't need the objects because we
are it. Yeah, and it's all around us if we allow ourselves to witness with those eyes and see it as such. It kind of radiates through the sacredness or the infused quality that everything has with it.
You might even think about it as, so the space that we are sitting in, and I don't mean now my house.
No, yeah.
But, there's air between you and me, and the walls of this house are dividing the space.
Yeah.
But the space is infinite, right?
Yeah, like why is this is the sacred line here, this wall, and then on the other side it's just Portland City.
And also, the space itself is filled with energy.
Yeah.
Right? Which is now what the quantum physicists are proving,
Yeah. I don't know all that stuff, but I believe it.
Right. So this is not just empty space. This is very potent by itself.
Yeah, it's charged.
So ultimately, that is the sacred space.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people would say, well, it's nothing because it's just air.
Mm-hmm.
But it's filled with energy.
Yeah.
So you can sit anywhere and feel that space, and that you are not just in it, but you are of it, and you are it.
Yeah.
And it actually totally dissolves all the duality and divisions, spatial divisions.
I on one level, I totally agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
But on another level, and maybe to bring an analogy in, I think about we're in nature, right? Because there's this sort of wilderness or the city, right? And we people often prefer being in wilderness, or it feels more special. But that it's all nature. But then when I'm in the wilderness, it feels different.
Of course it is.
Yeah, and if I'm in a cathedral or in a temple, it feels different than if I'm in
absolutely
kind of like a Safeway. Safeway always feels like the least happy grocery store to me.
Of course.
Why? Can I get out of here quickly, please?
I'm absolutely with you, because there's like lights and noise and electricity, right?
Yeah, and just
Electromagnetic
and
field,
nothing
and
seems cared like to make it a beauty doesn't seem to be a big part of the
right.
equation.
And this is, and the reason I mentioned the air or the
Yeah.
space, this is probably like, too advanced maybe,
Oh yeah.
because ultimately we can practice being at Safeway
And holding it.
and holding and being in touch with the sacred space,
Yeah.
despite of all the pollution and noise around it, right?
And what do you see is there like in these different like it all has the potential to be sacred and maybe it all is sacred and then it feels like some spaces are more sacred than others. Like what do you attribute that to? Is that from the intention that
I think
people
that is the intention,
that
because obviously there was not intention when they were building and furnishing Safeway
yeah.
that it would be a sacred space. Of course, that was not their intention.
Yeah.
That therefore it isn't. But when you go to a temple, the intention is there, right?
But it feels like maybe that intention actually changes the space in a way that we can feel it.
Oh, you mean the matrix itself?
Yeah, the container that's
it's our bodies, it's our nervous system and our bodies responding to all the stimuli, right? It actually the for it's they call it the unified field, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or matrix has a bad connotation now because matrix is the
it's become a Gnostic idea of
well, or the matrix, like in the movie, now
Yeah.
that's kind of the computer that might control everybody, so that is a different connotation. But
the unified
the
field.
unified field, that's what they call, what normal folks call, like this empty space. There's nothing. It's just like air. You don't see anything. But
it seems like we impact that field by our relationship to it. Like, because I'm just thinking of all the accounts of sort of advanced yogis, right? And when Westerners go to their, the place where they sat, but they've been dead for a long time, and people have these breakthrough experiences.
Right, we can actually work with the field.
This is the piece I'm curious about.
Yeah, with the field.
Because it seems more than just the props or the stimuli for the nervous system. Like, that's a part of it, but it seems like something else is happening
because, people who work in this way, they would actually walk into Safeway, and not only that they wouldn't be impacted by all the visual and auditory pollution,
flickering
and the distressed people, but just by their sheer presence there, they would transform the field, that actually people would feel better. People who are there, they would feel better, and they wouldn't know why. People who never practice yoga or meditation, they might just feel, or they might stop fighting with each other.
Yeah, because they have those studies from the TM folks, right, where they would do large-scale meditation in Washington D.C. or other places, and maybe violence would reduce. I haven't looked into those much. I just know of them.
So that's verified, right? That like a lot of people meditate and the crime rate decreases. So but anyway, maybe we got like a little bit off too mystical, esoteric.
Oh, I don't think there's such thing as too mystical, Lubosh. We can be as mystical as we want.
Right. Okay.
Just me and you right here.
Well,
man.
I think that what's so exciting to me that everything always come back to you.
Yeah, to us.
To you, right? Like that everything that's external is projection of our own consciousness, of course, but also it's informed by our consciousness. And cultivating your consciousness, which is intention, attention, is extremely powerful. And I think that especially at this time when the world is in so much, conflict,
confusion,
so much polarization, and dissatisfaction, and it's been always important, but especially now in the world that we live in, it's so important to keep coming back to our center and to this intention and attention, because we don't even realize how much power we have.
Mm-hmm.
This quiet power that we don't have to, we can, to demonstrate and have huge signs and protest against anything that we feel
like
passionate about,
yeah.
and it has its place. I'm not, disregarding it, but this power of intention that we have is much more powerful. Nobody knows about. Nobody will know about it.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's
This is
called the secret practice, right? The thing
right.
we bring in our heart that maybe others don't know.
And I think that, like we need to imagine the world that we want to live in, that we see, as we started talking about service, right? That benefit everybody. But we were still talking in the context of doing, our jobs.
Mm-hmm.
But this takes it a little bit further. This is our personal practice
Mm-hmm.
of daily getting in touch with the dynamic stillness within us and voice, maybe quietly, maybe aloud, an intention to what we want the world to be like. What, say we want health and well-being for everybody. We want abundance for everybody. We want peace and cooperation for everybody. And we might even start playing it as a mind movie.
To watch
What it
and
looks like,
see
watch it and actually walk through the streets and through the communities that actually get along and have smile on their faces. This is not some kind of naive dream. We are creators.
Yeah.
And I really, really believe that we can make this happen in numbers, right? Like that if thousands and millions of people have this vision, this is how we create reality.
And for you, Lubosh, what do you want in the world? Like, what's your...
I want this, I see on the material level, I see free energy, actually technology with free energy, enough healthy, clean food and water for everybody.
Yes.
So that's kind of on the base material level, and then cooperation instead of cutthroat greed, top-down hierarchical abuse of people.
Mm-hmm.
I see, and I don't. I'm just mentioning this for the sake of our conversation, but in my intentioning, I don't actually bring in those negative words like greed and
You're not
abuse.
You're only
because that
putting
would
your eyes onto
that
what
would
you
kind
want.
of weaken the mind movie of that creative intention.
Yeah.
So I see people who cooperate, who uh, who feel actually peaceful inside because they've done their own work,
Yeah.
and that are guided by love for themselves, first of all, because that's where it all starts.
Yes.
And then it unfolds as love for each other, because if you love yourself, you don't need to fight your neighbor, right? You don't, that doesn't happen. And then I see that everybody has enough, everybody's healthy, everybody's in charge of their own health. Health happens naturally.
Yeah, like our body wants to be healthy.
Yes, and through natural means, right?
Yeah.
And people are sovereign. People make decisions for themselves and about their. People are free.
Yeah.
So I see that this is not a utopia. This is our birthright. We were born like that, with that potential.
Yeah.
And we are now in the middle of transforming the society. The whole world is transforming. Sometimes it gets so hard that we get depressed and we just see the ugly, the destruction, and the harsh kind of dominant abuse.
Yeah, you make me think of and as you describe this visioning process, this intention, this holding the world we want to live in, that you may not share this view, but like we may not live in that world. Like it may not come here for us, but like it may be important for us to hold that vision, because it's not going to happen unless we hold it.
Right. You mean like we might not be alive until
it may not bear fruit
in our lifetime.
It may not bear fruit for us,
and it doesn't really matter, because this, that's the thing, that we don't think just for about ourselves,
like where
right?
we started in a way, right? For all beings,
our own, survival thing, but we are influencing our vibrational okay, playing this mind movie and doing this simple practice informs our vibrational frequency. So
it informs how we move through our day and our life.
And also everybody we are in contact with, you don't have to even say a word, but it affects them, and definitely it affects young people and children, right, that are gonna live, longer, in the
They're
future.
more sensitive to it in ways sometimes.
And they'll be, they'll carry on. And of course, nobody knows what's gonna happen. But what is the option, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to live the rest of my days in fear.
No.
I feel co-responsible. I'm either part of the problem or part of the solution, right? Yeah. And for the way I see it, the solution is, of course, we do our daily work. That's one thing, and then we move in this physical, three-dimensional world. But we also create the future.
Yeah,
we are creators, right?
Like every day we live, we are creating the future.
Yeah, we are creating the future, and we might even jump timelines. Who knows? A lot of people.
Who knows what the future holds?
A lot of people talk about the ascension process. That as a humanity we are ascending. I think that we are.
I think we're descending. I'm being playful.
Well, but also,
but it's coming
actually,
down.
Well, that too, right? No, but that's actually really, you're kind of joking, but you made a really good point. We also, part of the ascension process is that we are descending into feeling and looking at our own shadow.
Oh, yeah. Like actually seeing
my own lower self, the ego part that actually wants to be seen.
Oh yeah.
And for a lot of spiritual people, or people who practice spirituality,
I like what you're saying right now. Yeah.
Have been kind of like not acknowledging the unwanted parts of ourselves.
Yeah, I love what you just said, that they want to be seen, and I kind of picture myself like a spiritually identified person, but that those parts don't fit within my story of myself.
Absolutely.
And I'm turning away, but that, if you want to call it shadow, right? Like is actually wanting my attention.
Exactly.
It's wanting me to look at it and integrate it, and it's me that's denying it.
The same for me, and this is part of the work, and it's very courageous actually to do that.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to see those parts.
No, it's not very fun.
It's not very fun, and we don't want to, we are so wrapped. In general, we humans are wrapped in identities. Right?
Yeah, we
just love these categories, labels, and identities. Yeah. So, if I identify as a spiritual person, of course, I'm not, I don't want to see my greed. I don't want to see my envy. I don't want to see my shame or
jealousy, objectifying, judgment,
I'm judgmental actually, right?
Yeah, like I'm an asshole a lot of the time.
I can be an asshole. I mean, of course, nobody wants to see this, but, guess what happens? Actually, those parts of us, they want to be seen, they want to be loved, they want to be invited to that proverbial dinner table.
Yeah, they want to be let in.
and we don't want to because we are afraid that they would rule us, that they would gain too much power.
Yeah, I
Or
think there's also a bit of death when we invite them in. That identity
good
has
point.
to die a little bit to make room for them.
Yeah,
Like the
maybe.
way we hold our story or the way we see ourselves needs
True,
to
we would
be
actually need to reframe,
yeah,
reclassify ourselves.
yeah, to be
But
reconstituted by the shadow.
yeah,
Yeah.
but the beauty of this is that actually when it happens, when we do it,
Such relief.
the shadow gets integrated, and it doesn't rule us anymore.
Yeah. Even right now, like I'm in a process of trying to work with anger and boundary as something I've kept away. And
Right.
as I work with it, I feel like vibrant energy, like in my chest. Just
Isn't it amazing? Because
yeah,
it
and it's
frees
like
up all this
uncomfortable, right?
vitality.
It's like uncomfortable,
Right.
even not even the anger piece, just the
Right.
oh wait, there's more energy in my chest these days. I'm not even
Amazing.
activating the anger, but I'm like, that's even uncomfortable for me to like make room for this
Right.
energy.
There's so much aliveness in these disowned parts,
yeah,
right?
yeah, and like when they come back, they infuse our body. Like
Right.
it's like, oh, I didn't know I was missing you.
Right.
Yeah, or I didn't know this was a deadened
Uh-huh.
quality to my being, and it's quite amazing when they start to return. You know, and I feel like day 3 of working with my anger, very early days.
Anger is a big one because anger is associated with destruction and
Yeah,
abuse, right? Like that. If I'm angry at somebody, that I'm violating them.
yeah, or and for me, pushing away, like you're not gonna want.
Oh yeah.
You're not gonna
Right.
want to be connected to me if I let you see my anger, or I express it.
Right, then you are not loved. You lose love,
Yeah,
or
yeah. I must give up my anger to maintain love with you, but
Right.
then I'm
Right.
resentful or frustrated or
and
not
it's a
seen.
big one. Yeah, it's a big one, and of course the trick is to learn that we can express anger with kindness.
Yeah, that's
And it's seemingly a contradiction, but actually it's not.
Yeah, my dad came to live with me, not on purpose. He lost his housing and he just kind of showed up at my house. I knew he was losing his housing, but he never said like, "Hey, can I stay with you?" And he just knocked.
And
on
he
my
just showed up.
Yeah, and we have a complicated relationship, you know. But so he was living with me for like 6 weeks, and I'd get frustrated, you know. And then something that I discovered for myself with him, and I would like to bring this in other relationships, but it's hard sometimes, that if I just brought a little of the anger out, just a little, even not even in a skillful or compassionate way, just enough out, the connection would be restored. That for me, when the anger was activated, right, I actually shut out. I shut down.
Right.
And I had to put a little bit of the anger back into the space. To go back to the space.
How did it work?
It was so surprising, right? Because he didn't mind that much. He doesn't have an issue with anger.
Well, in a way,
I have an issue with anger.
Right. And in a way, it frees him also. I mean, it frees both of you.
Yeah, I mean, I would see him get a little jolted, but then
right.
I could be there with him.
There's
I could
more
talk
connection.
to him, right? But
Right.
like the anger, and it was so shocking to me that anger is connection, actually. Like in my
Absolutely.
the story in my head was disconnection. It's like, oh wait, no,
Right.
this actually is fostering connection, not flooding him with it and blasting him, but just a little bit.
And in so many relationships, when there's a kind of stale, unspoken energy, one of the people explodes, right? Not only because the field got pressurized and there must be a valve.
Yeah, you gotta let it out.
But also, anger can be more connecting.
Yeah.
Because there's a confrontation.
Yeah.
Than when it's not spoken about, which is totally disconnecting and uncomfortable, right? So it's definitely the better step forward, anger, than that withdrawal, right?
I want to circle somewhere, if that's okay, if I can be a bit directive. When you were speaking of like self-love earlier, I was curious for you if like you could speak to your journey around loving yourself, unless you've you know or raised perfectly and you've been loving yourself from day one. I imagine there was a bit of a journey there for you to
That would
begin
be
to reclaim this sort of
that would be
self-love.
wonderful, right?
Yeah, that'd be great. That's the
Yeah.
visioning, right? The movie in the morning.
Right. I don't know if it's even possible. Maybe there are
I think
such people.
it could go a little better for the kiddos,
Right.
maybe.
Right. Yeah, I mean, my journey has been from like one extreme to, I mean, there are no extremes now, but
it feels like there's been a real turn from you over time.
yeah, and it took me a very long time.
It wasn't an
Very long
overnight
time.
or a
No.
flash moment.
Because, a lot of it is so unconscious. We don't even know that we don't love. We don't exercise self-love.
Yeah.
And the veil starts lifting over gradually. Right?
Uh-huh.
So I was so unconscious for so long.
Yeah.
And the way, and then looking back, like just like seeing my modes of behavior that I would function in ways that didn't want to upset people because they wouldn't love me.
Yeah, what I was
there were all
naming
these
earlier.
all these external ways that I wanted love from the external, from people.
Yeah, for you, these are connected.
Not even knowing that actually I was not giving love to myself. That a lot of things that I was doing were not exercising self-respect, self-dignity, always kind of taking care of the other and not taking care of me.
Yeah.
And, but the society kind of rewards that behavior because it's so virtuous to be serving others.
Yeah, selflessness,
altruism.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that, when it comes from the right place, when selflessness comes from self-love, then it's a genuine selflessness. Otherwise, it's not. Actually, otherwise, it's a strategy and it's a mask that we wear in the world to be loved.
Yeah, right? Man, what I hear you saying is like you were trying to earn love through selflessness.
I tried to earn love because, I was kind of a perfectionist, but, I always knew that I was not good enough.
Oh, yeah.
And absolutely unaware of a lot of my shadow parts because it was too shameful. I felt that it would
if you're not
destroy me.
Yeah, if you're not worthy, right?
Me. So I was overworking. I was working so hard to be admired or to be brilliant in my artwork or to be a perfect disciple when I had a guru, to be
you were the best guru. Yeah.
Perfect student, and but giving my power away to those who, in my perception, they knew better.
And they could bestow that love on you if you earned it.
And if I earn it, like they will show me the secret doorway to...
Yeah, then you would love yourself if you earned it from them.
But it didn't even I couldn't even formulate it like that. I didn't love myself. I didn't know about it.
Was there a turn for you where it started to be about self-love? Because you were what I'm hearing is you were on the journey for quite a while doing this other thing, and then it seems like you named over time it sort of shifted. But was there points along the way? Yeah.
It was my past relationship.
Oh, okay.
Which is now going into divorce, actually. I mean, we split up 2 years ago already, but it got so amplified. It was really divinely put together for our growth. Obviously, like very karmic relationship, very intense, like huge love and huge also fighting and antagonism. And eventually it accelerated so much that was the wake up.
Oh yeah. Like these things you're talking about of how you operated were happening so
I
strongly in the relationship.
like for many of us, like it almost literally killed me, this relationship. My health was going down the drain. I was depleted. I was at the end of my rope. It was what people call the dark night of the soul.
Yeah.
And it actually, as it often happens, it started with a totally imploding in that ugliest self-rejection
Yeah.
of like loathing myself.
Oh.
But there was always a witness
Yeah,
that
you
was
had some of
looking
that
at that
stillness.
in me, right? My own witness
Yeah.
was watching this, knowing that it's absolutely not true,
Yeah.
that I'm the divine being of light, but there was this imperative: you have to feel this as a human, you have to go this, because that's the doorway to realize who you truly are.
Yeah.
So this witness was always there, but it was horrible. And it was kind of what we talked about a few minutes ago, that we don't want to see the shadow and the dark part, because in that moment it feels like the totality of who we are, because we humans are so conditioned to identify with those labels.
Mm-hmm.
But when you actually finally go through the darkness and come to the other side, you realize, oh, that was a part of me, but there are so many parts of me. I'm actually everything.
Yeah.
I'm everything and nothing, But
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 you
as a
were
human,
working with that one
but
part.
as a human, that was like the first time that I faced my biggest fear of that I'm actually nothing. I'm filled with shame, and I'm basically horrible. It's totally amplified. It's totally exaggerated.
Yeah.
Of course, none of us is that.
No, but
But in that
period,
moment, when you're face to face with it, and when you feel it, that's where the transformation happens. Nobody wants to go there.
yeah, it's the worst place to go. It's so hard.
No, everything in us
Says no.
says no, and the ego is such a great guardian
Yeah.
of
Really,
not
really
allowing
looking
you to
out
go
for
there.
us as best it can, right?
Right. And it has its place and it's doing its job.
Yeah.
So actually, to answer your question, yeah, there was a pivotal moment,
Yeah.
and then I saw how much power I gave away also to my partner, to the woman, how much power I gave away in the past to my guru. All of it, all in
like
the service.
this relationship that was deep struggle in that moment also became a reflection of all these other times
Also, yeah,
that you have done this in
and
the past.
it got amplified on a very personal level.
Yeah.
Which also shows me, like, oh my God, like everything is so perfectly orchestrated for our highest benefit.
Yeah.
Even when we resent it, when we are kicking and screaming, like, why did I get into this relationship? Well, it was total,
or wasting these years or whatever.
not waste, not for a moment.
Yeah, it was
right?
absolutely needed.
And getting through that, I sometimes joke I got my PhD, in that relationship. I graduated.
Yeah, that was.
And now, and now I'm in a relationship that's totally different. That's wonderful. And a totally different kind of woman.
Mm-hmm.
And since everything is a mirror, like I kind of look at her and I think like, oh my God, like I did my work because I'm with you.
Yeah.
Because I was not ready for you before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I had to earn you in this way, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't need to play that I don't need to wear that mask anymore.
Yeah.
And it's probably not 100% done ever, and it doesn't have to be, but now I can kind of love that too. I can, oh look, I reverted to my old, like, I want you to love, I want, minimally, but when once we accept these parts, then we can actually allow that they can come
And
back,
we can see them
because they don't have power over you
you
anymore.
can see them too, because if you
And
don't
you
know,
you see them, and you kind of like, oh, here you are, you're back. Hi.
oh, we're doing the thing we do right now.
Yeah. You want to do the dance again? Like, well, maybe not. I don't need to now. Like, but I love you, and kiss it goodbye, right?
Yeah, thanks for trying to help me.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, I think that this is what liberation is, right? And of course, I'm not done. I'm not saying that I get it.
No,
Maybe,
but you went through a major threshold.
This is ongoing, right? I mean, this is, and it's fine.
Yeah.
But major awakening.
Yeah, where you felt that you could actually be with yourself and like love yourself and not have to find it or seek for it or earn it.
And I would like to. I think that I would like to add something that's very important in this discussion, because also, what do we even mean by saying love myself, right?
Please.
And I think that this is very important.
Yeah.
Looping back to that, actually, of course, it's easy to love my quote unquote positive.
Yeah, you're the identity
traits.
or the
right. Like, of course, I love that I can do this, and I'm like this and like this. No, what's really crucially important is that we love all of us, right?
Yeah.
Which means, I can love when my little, greed comes, or when my shame shows up, when my fear, insecurities, or need for approval, when these parts come, I love them too. I love them too. This is self-love. Yes. Self-love is not just loving what's pretty. Self-love is loving all of it. But then, it's okay.
It's okay.
Those so-called negative things are actually perfectly okay. There's nothing wrong with them.
Yeah.
Only when we suppress them, if we are unconscious, then of course they can rule our lives. And we can do things that are not okay.
Yeah, even circling back a bit earlier when we were talking about the dynamic stillness and everything coming from there, the good and the bad, but we like the good. Like, why would we have these parts unless they were meant to be here?
Absolutely.
Like, there must have like, who am I to say, like, I shouldn't have that part? That part's bad. I need to get rid of it.
They have their purpose.
They must serve some divine, organic life purpose.
Also, this comes with the package of being human. Can you imagine somebody would be born that doesn't have those so-called... And you can come up with any list of what you call negative qualities.
Yeah.
So, is there a human who doesn't have them? Then probably it wouldn't be somebody who call a human.
Yeah, there's a saying. I wish I could attribute it to the person, but if you're gonna finally make it and be perfect, you're gonna be living on an island by yourself.
And how boring is it?
Yeah, like yeah. Congratulations, you did it. You're alone now because no one else is there with you. Yeah.
And some people would say that as long as we have a body, those forces will always be there.
Yeah.
And then if you transcend and achieve so-called perfection, then you probably don't need to be in the human body anymore, and you are floating somewhere in nirvana.
Yeah. I still like the body and this.
Yeah.
I still have work to do in loving, so I'm gonna hang out for a little longer. I'm not trying to get. I'm not trying to get out of here.
Good plan. Yeah, me too. Like, I have work to do, but now with like more self-love, the work is more fun.
Yeah, it's not. I gotta do this, or I'm not good enough. And,
right.
Only when I get this.
You can, because you are more gentle with yourself.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like, this image that helped me a lot was that I can see this other part of me as a little boy. And I wouldn't like, in this inner dialogue when we sometimes get a little bit violent with ourselves.
Totally.
I wouldn't do it to the boy, so I actually take the boy in my arms.
Yeah.
And I love him, right? And I wouldn't like beat him up for feeling certain way or feeling shame or anger, or I would just say like, hey, come here, like, I hold you, I love you.
Yeah.
And that kind of visualization actually really helps me, because it's not exactly like Mimi. Mimi.
Yeah.
It's like this boy that's part of me, and I can love him more than
Yeah, I was
this.
working with someone the other day and brought in someone that they could love
Mm-hmm.
and then help them to hopefully feel some of that self-compassion, if we want to
Right.
call it that, self-love.
Right.
And then but then I had them do it to themselves from the outside.
And it was hard.
They could do it then
They
a
could
little
do it
bit.
better afterwards.
But then I asked them, can they do it right now?
Mm.
In this moment, they couldn't do it. And
Not yet.
like, and show, okay, we'll go back and come back,
Right.
go back and come back. Like, find the place and keep trying.
That's beautiful. Well, and the fact is that these younger the boy image.
Yes.
It's actually not a fabrication, because it is exactly the younger parts of us that haven't been integrated.
Yeah.
That actually scream for attention.
And like in some psychology systems, right? It's that attacking, angry, violent parts are actually the ones protecting the little children.
Absolutely.
That they're trying to keep us in line so we can earn our love or be safe.
Yes.
Don't step out of line in this way.
Yes.
I'm gonna beat you internally,
Right.
so that little boy is safe, so he doesn't have to feel that thing he felt again when he was younger.
Absolutely.
Whether that's shame or ostracization or whatever it is. And like, so it's so interesting that like even these violent negative pieces of us seem to really be trying to help.
Always. And
there's not doing a good job.
Right.
But like
well, and anytime there's a trigger, anytime we get triggered,
uh-huh.
it means that there's work to do.
Yeah.
It's never about the other person.
Uh-huh.
The other person is actually our helper. It doesn't feel that way. And
no, only when you do only after the work.
Only
right?
Afterwards. Afterwards you might say, "Oh, thank you."
Yeah, that was so helpful. Thank you.
But in the moment, it's like like,
God damn it! Why did you?
And pointing fingers like it's your fault. You make me feel miserable, right?
Yeah.
So it's always actually an indication that there's anytime we are triggered, it means we need more work to do.
Yeah.
On ourselves.
Yeah. It's been good talking to you. Is there is there anything here for you? Just as I know we circled and touched different places.
I think that it's really fascinating to me that we started with one topic that was about sacred space.
Yeah.
And we totally got to the core of. I would never imagine in my wildest dreams that, that we would go so quickly into the core of actually our beingness.
Yes.
Where the sacred space really resides.
And in the self-love.
And the self-love is.
And what's coming to me as we hear, I love this idea, and I don't know if I can put it into words well enough, but like the safe way, right? What is this metaphor for these parts that we don't like and everything? And can we love our inner parts and our outer parts, and like how it's all the same thing at the end of the day, just holding some space of like willingness to
cultivate it,
and like a willingness to be wrong, that maybe this is helpful, or this space is loving too, or whatever it is, that like I should not be defining this as wrong.
It's very entertaining to me that you mentioned safe way. Think about the word.
Oh, safe way.
Safe way.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the universe has like a really good sense of humor that it pops into your head as something negative, and then we can actually transmute it into a safe way of dealing with adversity, or
inner adversity, relational adversity,
or environmental adversity,
spatial adversity, right? And energetic adversity
in a building full of LED lights and noise and all kinds of pollution.
But I'm still not going to shop at Safeway, though.
Oh no.
I went in one the other day and I was like, I gotta get out of here. This is not okay.
Right.
Yeah. Is there like ways if people want to connect to you? You have your website, right? Art by Luce is.
Art by Luce.
Luce, yeah, I didn't know. Sorry, I didn't know how to pronounce.
LUCE.
Yeah.
.com, or my name, luboshcech.com.
Yeah. And you have beautiful art. I would really recommend people checking it out.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for doing this, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you.
It was fun.
Thanks so much for listening. Hope you enjoyed listening to Lubosh share about his journey, his relationship to sacred space and creativity and the utilization of dynamic stillness and intention and attention to really cultivate a kind of more harmonious relationship with the spaces we're in and what we do in those spaces. And, most importantly, right? Like loving ourselves. So if you want to check out Lubosh's art or get in touch with him about doing some work, check out his website in the show notes. And really appreciate you listening and hope you're well. And I got to stop because my dog is scratching at the door to go outside. Okay, be well. Thank you. Bye.